Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, and welcome to this specialist trading educational presentation. Now, today I want to talk to you about short-term trading with powerful results. And when we say short-term trading, we don't necessarily mean that you're in and out of the market in 1 or 2 days, although you are able to do that with a method I'm going to share with you in a few moments. But what we're really talking about is a method that's based and designed strictly off of short-term requirements. So this helps to be much more sensitive to capture those trends and those setups. For example, let's take a quick look at this snapshot of Costco, okay? And we're only looking at 7 or 8 bars here of reference. Most traders, myself included, not knowing this method would say, well, there's not enough information here. But because this method is so sensitive, because it's based on short-term requirements, it actually generated an uptrend setup right here. So therefore, you knew just off this small sampling of bars here that we were in an uptrend. And as you can see, the markets went up right after that. Now, this method also generates signals within that short-term uptrend. And as you can see, you could have potentially captured 85 points looking at these setups right here. Now, the method is so sensitive to trend changes that when the trend finally did change, well, it changed along with the trend and generated signals to the downside, which could have potentially captured up to 145 points. And this is what we mean when we're talking about short-term trading with powerful results, as you just saw right now. Now, we'll teach you, once you become a student of this course, we'll teach you exactly how to identify these setups and what to look for. And everything is one click away on the platform I developed with ProTrader Strategies. That's the PTS Primo charting platform that teaches you how to identify and trade these short-term signals. So welcome once again to this educational presentation. My name is Stephen Primo, president and founder of Specialist Trading. If you're new to my webinars, we are all about educating, as you'll see in today's class. Our goal is simply to educate traders around the world. And I'm happy to say now that we have students in over 115 countries and in every state in the United States. And in today's presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you a method that really, especially in these markets that are very volatile and that can change at the drop of a hat, this method is really consistent and can really elevate your trading. You'll see that in today's presentation. But before we begin, as always, we're required to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results today using this particular method. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, since we are dedicated to educating our students around the world, if you'd like to get some more education on a daily basis, absolutely free, feel free to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I post different information on a daily basis. Some of the snapshots I post are signals of our strategies. Others are little bits of financial wisdom and education. So lots of great free information on a daily basis. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, remember, as I stated in the opening statements, we're a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended. I see a lot of new names here today. First and foremost, we are an educational company. So we're not, and it's not our philosophy to tell you what we think the market's going to do or what we think is the best stock or the best time frame to trade in. In fact, that goes entirely against our philosophy. Our philosophy as educators is to provide you with that information so that you can make that decision. Now, I've been trading for 45 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I traded through the crash of '87 and the bull market that followed. And then once I left in the '90s, I've been trading and managing money for other people and myself. And I've also been an educator. And if there's one thing I've learned in my experience as a trader, is that the only traders that are consistent, that have stood the test of time, are the ones that make their own trading decisions. You see, they don't go to chat rooms or wait for the earnings to come out or wait for interest rates to be, marked up or down. They have a plan in place. They've learned how to listen to the markets and they simply follow it. So that's my goal as an educator, not to force feed you signals, not to tell you what markets to trade or what time frame to trade, but simply to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. This is the same edge I was taught by my mentors some 45 years ago on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange, and what I truly believe has sustained me now for that amount of time. And hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. Now, this is an educational class, so please, I want you to ask me as many questions as possible, but I like to do things a little bit differently. I like to take the questions at the very end. So if you do have a question, Please write it down and try to remember it. I promise I shall get to it at the very end of today's class. This class is also being recorded. If you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues, oftentimes if you just log off and log back on again, it's your own internet connection and the problem will be resolved. But if it's not, don't worry, you'll each get a link to this recording. You can watch whenever you'd like. And lastly, please remember that this is a static PowerPoint presentation. It's not an interactive Zoom presentation. So please remember to disable all cameras and microphones, okay? It's just a PowerPoint presentation where I'm going to be sharing with you this method. All right, with that stated, let's begin today's class. We're going to be talking about a very consistent and very, I would say, a popular strategy. This is strategy number 10. Let me give you some of the highlights of this particular method. As we stated earlier, it's a short-term strategy. In fact, it's our only short-term strategy. What we mean by that is that all the rules, all the requirements are based specifically off of short-term requirements, short-term methods or rules, all right? Usually we have things that are based on overall trend or higher time frames or higher requirements. No, it doesn't fit into this particular method. Now, it does not apply the buy-sell line to determine the trend. If you've watched any of my presentations in the past or on YouTube, you know that I talk a lot about the buy-sell line, which tells you the overall trend, all right? Well, guess what? Strategy number 10 does not require the buy-sell line. Now, it's a combination indicator-based pattern recognition strategy. Now, this differs from any of our methods because most of our methods are either one or the other. In other words, all the requirements are based off an indicator or a series of indicators lining up to generate the signals, or it's based on a pattern that you look for to be completed before a signal is generated. Well, this is a combination of both. So this is where it's different from other methods we have as well. Now, most trades are designed to last 1 to 5 days. You can get in and out of 1 to 5 days. That's another asset to this method because as we've seen in today's markets, do you really want to be carrying a lot of money in positions overnight? I mean, we've seen the market go straight down and then, with any news or anything that can happen, it go right back straight up. And if you're on the wrong side, this volatile swings can generate large losses. So if you'd like to trade a method that doesn't have you in for very long, this is a great method as well. Now, if you like to stay in longer, we have ways we teach in the course to actually stay in the trade much longer, days, weeks, if not months, if you'd like. Now, because of the basic format where you're in and out within roughly about 5 days, you can apply this to option trading. So we know we have a lot of option traders in our courses. So this is a perfect method for option timing. Now, we teach both an aggressive and a conservative version in the course. We know that not everyone likes to trade the same. Some people have very low risk parameters, others have huge risk parameters. So we have 2 different ways to apply it to meet your needs. Now, we also know that a lot of traders are more swing to even long-term investors. But as we've seen in the markets as of late, the last month has gone pretty much downward in the market. A lot of traders are losing money in their long-term portfolio. Therefore, this is a great counter method to have. In other words, you can hold on to your positions in your long-term investments, but you can be trading this for the short term to try and offset those losses that you're getting in the long term. Now, lastly, as I stated, this is a very consistent method. I know most of you are saying, well, that's great. That means that it has a lot of winners. That's not what we mean by consistency. The true definition of consistency in trading is an awareness of losses. It goes counter to what most of us have been taught, but it has an awareness of losses, meaning that we know that we will have a losing trade every once in a while. That's perfectly okay, but a consistent method is one that's able to recoup those losses, oftentimes on the very next trade. How many of you have purchased a method or designed a trading strategy that does pretty well, and then the minute it goes into a series of losses, it really goes into a series of losses, and the next thing you know, all of the money you made when it had winning trades is gone, and you're even below water right now because it just continues to generate loss after loss after loss. That's not consistency. What you want is a 2-step forward, 1-step back approach, kind of a stair-step approach to your wins and losses, and that's what strategy number 10 is. Okay, now I can't give away all the rules because I know I've given presentations before where I've given you maybe 2 or 3 rules with different methods. Unfortunately, we can't do that because strategy number 10 is so simple. It's so easy to figure out. And once again, if I did that, if I gave you maybe 1 or 2 rules, then you easily figure out the rest, the remaining, you could reverse engineer it. So let me just share with you the process, okay? So remember, we said it's based on completely short-term requirements. We don't apply the buy-sell line, which is our overall trend identifier. So how do we define the trend? Well, we apply the PET D. This is another tool I've talked about to determine the short-term trend. This is one of our most popular as well as powerful tools. This is something I learned on the floor of the stock exchange when I was trading some 4 decades ago. Now, at the time, we called it the formula because it was a formula that you literally had to calculate almost on a tick-by-tick basis. But because of high-speed computers and programmers we have now, we've developed it into a color bar algorithm. We've taken all the hard work out of it for you. So as we look at this chart here, this older chart of Aetna, obviously we can see that it's in a short-term uptrend, right? Here's the trouble. Most traders get caught holding on to their long positions when this happens. And then they turn into a long-term investor hoping for it to go back. But here's how sensitive the PET D is. It colors the bars green for an uptrend and red for a downtrend. Now, it's not a predictive tool. It doesn't predict the top or the bottom. It simply tells you on a tick-by-tick basis. Basically, it's translating what any market wants to do in any time frame. So as we see here, look how the green bars were being generated right here in the beginning, well before the uptrend ensued. And look how the red bars were being generated well before we were making new lows, okay? So in my over 4 decades of trading, as it says here, the PET D is the best tool I've found for capturing the short-term trend. So this is what we're going to be using for capturing the short-term trend for strategy number 10. Okay, once we've learned what the trend is by seeing it either a series of green or a series of red bars, then we have to figure out if we're going to be a buyer or a seller. So obviously, if we're a buyer, the method will identify a shallow pullback, all right? Now, if you're not familiar with what a pullback is, that's a 1 to 3 day pause or a sell-off in a short-term uptrend. So basically, the bars are green, but then you have a 1 to 3 day pause, sideways action, or a sell-off while the bars are still green. That's a buy setup, okay? Without giving away all of the real detailed rules. Now, if we're going to be doing the opposite, if we're going to be selling, well, then we want the method to identify a pullback. That's a little bounce, a 1 to 3 day pause or bounce in a short-term downtrend. So the short-term downtrend will mean that the bars are red, and you'll have an either 1 to 3 day pause or sideways movement or a little bounce, a little rally, all right? That's how sensitive this is. All right, so let's go through the entire process with you, showing you how simple it would be once you become a student of mine in the strategy number 10 course, and you can apply this process. And remember, in the course, I'll teach you exactly how to identify, all right, a strategy number 10 setup. So this is not a black box. You'll know exactly what to look for once you know all the rules and requirements. But we make it easy by applying strategy number 10 signals with the PTS Primo charting platform. All right, this is the educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade short-term markets. It's like having your own personal mentor sitting next to you because you can check your work once you've learned how to identify these. All right, so let's go through some examples here. We'll start off with buy signals first, okay? And these are all recent, within the last month or so. All right, we're looking at 3 bars here in the LIN. All right, now someone would say, once again, 3 bars, how can we tell anything with just 3 bars? Remember, this is a very sensitive method. Most traders would say, well, 3 bars, there's nothing we can tell here. There's a short-term top, that's the only thing I can see. And so maybe I'll wait for that to break out before I have an idea that we have a trend. Maybe higher highs would determine the trend. Well, you don't have to do that with the PET D. This is how sensitive the PET D is, because on our platform, all you have to do is click on the PET D green tab there in our green strategy tab, and it automatically will change the colors, and you'll see whether you're in an uptrend or a downtrend. Now we have 3 consecutive green bars. Even though the last one was down strongly, it's still colored green. So that's telling you this is just a down little sell-off in a short-term uptrend. So that's the basis for a strategy number 10 buy signal. Now, the other requirements need to be met, but let's say you study the material, you think you have identified a valid buy signal, so you want to check your work. Here's how the platform helps you. Click on strategy number 10 in the green strategy tab, and in the drop-down menu, you'll click on signal arrows, and it will tell you if you properly identified a valid signal. Let's say you thought there was a signal on that downward day. Well, you were correct. That's a valid strategy number 10, buy signal. All right. Now in the course, we teach you different exit levels. We teach you different stop placements. We even teach you different ways to enter. But this is the basis for a setup. So now you have your benchmark. You know that you should be looking to get long. And remember, our credo is we teach you these things, but it's up to you to make your own decisions. So you can decide to buy at the market. You can decide to place a limit. Maybe you say, well, I want to wait for it to trade at a certain level that we teach you in the course, and you'll jump in then. You can decide where you want to exit. You can decide to place your stop. But ultimately, it's you who has to decide. We're just highlighting these high probability setups. So this is a high probability setup. And look what happened coming into the first week of June last week. 28 points, all right? Now, the beauty of this is that it generates a lot of signals because it's so sensitive. Had you missed that very first signal about 3 weeks ago, well, you had 3 more chances to get back in. All right, let's look at CAT, Caterpillar Tractor. All right, someone would say, okay, well, we're obviously in an uptrend, right? And if you apply the PET D, it confirms it. All of these bars are outlined green. So you're in a short-term uptrend. You have consecutive green colored bars. But we really haven't had a sell-off or a real, sharp downward move. So how can I buy here? Well, remember, a buy setup is generated either by a pause, meaning kind of a sideways, mini sideways action, or a sell-off. So we may have actually generated a buy signal here just based off this little pause. Let's check our work. Click on strategy number 10, click on signal arrows, and we are right. We are learning how to properly identify a signal on our own. You see how we're putting the power in your hands? You don't have to go to a chat room or a trade room to find out if there's a buy in a certain stock. You don't have to listen to the guys on TV once the market is closed tell you whether this stock should be bought or not. You make your own decisions. As an educator, I want you to be in charge of your trading destiny. Because why? Well, in my 45 years, the only traders that are still trading that amount of time are the ones that make their trading decisions. So obviously, that's the common denominator. You can't rely on someone telling you what to do because basically you're giving your power away and you're basically telling the markets, I don't know what to do. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough knowledge. So why don't you make the trading decision for me? And that, in my opinion, in my 40 plus years of trading is a recipe for disaster. Okay, so we're teaching you how to identify a strategy 10 signal. And what do we have here? There's a buy signal, okay? Not a bad little trade there, right? 16 points in just about, I'd say 5 or 6 days. Let's look at this example right here, an MA, all right? Now, most traders, just looking at 5 or so bars, would say there's not really any identification of what this stock wants to do. Basically, we're going down, then we're going back up. We're most likely going to go back down again, so I'm not going to do anything here. There's no indication of trend. This is the way most of us are taught. But if you have the PET D, what's the PET D telling you? Well, we click it on, and we see that the last 3 bars are colored green. So that's all we need to have 3 to 5 consecutive bars colored the same. So the last 3 bars are green. That's all we need. That means the trend right now is up. So what do you want to do? Well, we want to check our work to see if there's a valid signal there. And guess what? There was. On that one day where we closed down, that was all it took to meet all the short-term requirements, and the buy signal was generated. So this was at the end of May, just last month. Now, here's a great example of how powerful our platform is. I will share with you this at the end of the presentation, but I just want to share with you there, it will auto-generate exit levels for you. So this is just one of the exit levels you could have taken, and you could have potentially made 28 points in 8 days. Now, the reason why this exit level on our platform is so popular is because oftentimes it has an uncanny ability to generate the correct place to exit before this happens, okay? This is an actual exit level generated on our platform. I'll share with you more information on that towards the end of today's presentation. All right, let's look at this example here in charter communication. Looks like a range market, right? Hits the bottom, goes up, goes back down to the bottom, goes back up. Most likely it's going to come back down to the bottom, right? Well, so that means they're in a range type of environment. Well, not really. What is our translator, the PET D, telling us? Once we apply the PET D, well, it's saying, sure, we had a couple of red, a couple of green, 1 red, but now we have consecutive green bars. So from this point on, roughly from here on, we're in an uptrend. So if you check your work, you say, okay, I think I know how to properly identify a strategy number 10 buy signal. In fact, I think there are two of them. And you're right. There were two buy signals generated right here in the middle to end of May. Could have potentially made 50 points. So where someone else was seeing a range market, we were seeing an environment to go long because of the short-term sensitivity of strategy number 10. All right, here's that first chart we shared with you in Costco at the beginning of the presentation, right? Most traders looking at this would say there's not enough information. We're basically just going sideways here for 7 or 8 bars. How can I get a clue as to what's going on? That's where the PET-D and the sensitivity of the PET-D comes in handy, because once you apply the PET-D, you would have seen we're in an uptrend. All right, so let's apply the PET-D. Yep, all the bars were green. And someone could say, but how can they be in an uptrend? We're going sideways. We haven't made higher highs or higher lows. We're just kind of treading water. That's how sensitive the PET-D is. All right. Now, while we're in that short-term uptrend, we want to look for a small sell-off or a sideways action. Well, we're definitely going sideways here. And we definitely think we have a couple of buy signals. Let's check our work. Click on strategy 10, click on signal arrows, and see if you've been studying correctly. And you're right. We have 2 buy signals generated. So this is enough information for us to make our own decisions to go long. All right. So you can choose the 6 or 7 different entry ways that we teach you. You can choose the 6 or 7 different exits and stop placements as well. But ultimately, it's you who are deciding how to enter and how to exit. And as you can see here, you could have potentially captured 85 points to the upside. Remember, if you missed these 2, there was a couple more that you could have taken advantage of. Now, what happened when the trend changed? Well, look what the PET-D did. See how the PET-D started to have a splash of red bars, and then right here with 3 consecutive, it was telling you, no, we're going to be going lower. So if you hadn't exited any one of these trades, now would have been the time to get out. And look what happened. The market fell out of bed and the bars continued to stay red. You see how the PET-D could have helped you at least change over and switch sides or get out of your long positions altogether. This is why most traders fail. They stay into positions too long, right? I'm sure I'm talking to you, right? I'm sure you've gone through that. Everyone has at some time or another. You've had a nice profit, you stay in the trade too long, and the next thing you know, that profit turns into a loss. This is the beauty of the PET-D, how the PET-D can help you, all right? On top of that, look at all the sell signals that were generated using strategy 10. So you could have switched and reversed. If you're a true trader, you don't always just buy all the time. You could have said, okay, now I'm a seller now. Why? Because the trend is now down, and potentially captured 145 points. All right, this is what we mean by short-term trading with powerful results. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's look at sell signals, okay? We're gonna just devote signals to being short here. All right, here's an example in Oracle. All right, sure, we've been coming down, but if you're a student of candlesticks, you say, well, Steve, that's a morning star pattern. That's a very bullish reversal pattern. I want to go long here. So I'm sorry, this pattern is supposed to be an area where you really get long and buy. So, I can't take any signals here to go short. But what is the trend? Remember, that's the first thing we want to look at. We're not looking at patterns specifically. We want to find the short-term trend first. So we apply the PET-D. And even though we may have a morning star pattern, all the bars are red. So if the market is telling us, not some guy on TV or not some guy in a trading room, but if the market is telling us the trend is lower and wants to go lower, why should we be looking to buy? I don't care what pattern you see. I don't care what guy on TV says to buy. I don't care what earnings report comes out. If the market is telling you it wants to go lower, that's the only thing I'm listening to. And on top of that, if you've studied the material, you would have seen that there was a valid strategy number 10 signal on that little bounce. So let's see what happened to that bullish candlestick pattern. It didn't work out very well, right? And if you missed that, once again, look at all these signals that were generated on the way down. Let's look at another example in ABT, Abbott Labs, okay? Obviously, it's going lower, okay? But you say to yourself, well, maybe there's some support. I don't know. I can't think of selling when it's gone down this low, right? Well, if the PET-D is telling you it wants to go lower, you want to be in sync with the market. There is no such thing as it's down too low, it's oversold or overbought. The market is all that matters. The market tells you what it wants to do. So we have a little one-day bounce right here, as you can see, the last bar, and it is a sell signal. So had you sold, you could have potentially made 12 points in Abbott Labs coming into the end of May. Here's an example in McDonald's. Once again, looks like a range sideways market, right? Nothing happening. We hit a top, go down, hit the bottom, hit the top, hit the bottom. We're most likely going to go back up, right? Well, if we apply the PET D, we see here the majority of the bars are red, and we have consecutive reds in a row these last 5 bars or 6 bars. On top of that, if we check our work, we have a sell setup right here, all right? This was at the end of May. In just 4 days, you could have quickly captured 17 points. Looking at Tesla, once again, sure, it's in a downtrend. There's nothing to argue with that, but maybe it's oversold. Look how far it's come down. Look how quickly it's come down. I can't buy here, right? This is what most traders would say. It's tremendously oversold, and that guy in that chat room says you have to buy here. There's some major support here. Some class you took for $10,000 that has this unique support and resistance course is telling you that this is where the support is. It's oversold, so you've got to buy it here, right? Remember, that is the way most traders are taught, based on someone or something else telling them what to do. What is our translator telling us what the market wants to do? Well, we apply the PET D, and it's translating that the market, the very thing we're trading, the source of what we're trading, is saying, I want to go lower. So why would I listen to some guy in some other course or even some guy on a webinar telling me what he thinks the market's going to do? Why not just listen to the market itself? All right, now we check our work with a strategy number 10 signal. And yes, we have a sell signal right there. So 180 points you could have potentially captured coming into June. And if you missed that one, a couple more you could have taken advantage of. Okay, let's recap before we go into the question and answer period. Remember, strategy number 10 is our first strategy that's based entirely off of short-term requirements. That's why it's so sensitive to these short-term moves. It applies the PET D, our color bar algorithm, to determine the short-term trend. Now, if you're looking for a buy setup, obviously you want to see a series of consecutive bars colored green, and then the method will identify a shallow pullback. That's a 1 to 3 day pause or a sell-off in a short-term uptrend. If you're looking for sells, obviously you want to see consecutive red bars, and then the method identifies a shallow pullback, which is a 1 to 3 day pause or a slight bounce in price in the short-term downtrend. This is how sensitive this is, but it's great for these markets, especially in the markets we've been seeing as of late. So ask yourself, do you think this short-term strategy could have helped your trading this past month, this past year? If your answer is yes, which I feel most of you are saying yes to this, we have a great offer for all of you attending today, a great discount. This is our strategy number 10, short-term trend trader offer. Okay, you're going to get entirely new short-term strategy. This is something that we've basically just developed within the last year or so. It applies the PET D for short-term trend. It's a combo indicator pattern-based method. You're going to get the complete course rules to not only the aggressive, but as well as the conservative versions. Remember, most trades last from 1 to 5 days, but in the course, we teach you different ways to hold on. If you'd like to hold on for weeks, if not months, even years, you can do that. We teach you how to do that in the course. Because of its short-term requirements and short-term exiting at times, you can apply this to option trading. Of course, you have to decide which strike price to buy and which option, but that, once again, is your decision. We're just highlighting these high probability points for entry. Now, as we just shared with you, everything that you just saw in the last half hour, 45 minutes was displayed coming from the platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. You saw how easy it is to click with one-click access to get access to the PET D as well as the signals. So because of that, we're going to throw in with this great offer a full year free. If you decide to become a student of mine in the Strategy 10 course, you'll also get a full year free of the platform. Now, I developed the platform with Pro Trader Strategies. And now you're going to see things on the platform, not only the strategy number 10 signals and such, but you're also going to see things that I've accumulated from my 45 years of trading that you won't find anywhere else. These are things that I've taken from the floor and things I've developed on my own that you won't find on any other platform. And that's included with this 12 months free usage of our PTS Primo charting platform. Now, you'll get our proprietary strategy 10. You'll get the PET-D directional tool. You'll also get a strength of trend feature you won't find anywhere else that tells you the strength of the current trend. You'll also get a signal scanner where you can scan for the strategy 10 signals on a nightly basis. You can also scan for the overall trend, the buy-sell line. You can scan for the PET-D. You can scan for the entire universe of stocks, PET-D stocks that are colored green currently or colored red, all right? Also, over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators. This all comes with personalized tech support. If there's ever an issue you don't understand or can't be explained to you, our tech support will be there in a matter of moments just to explain and resolve any issue that you may have. But here's what I think one of the best things are, and this is what we talked about earlier. It's our automatic exit levels. Now, this is just one of the different techniques for exiting that we teach in the course, but it's auto-generated on the platform. So let me show you what I mean here. Let's look at that example in PG. All right. Now obviously we have a sell signal, a strategy number 10 sell signal. All the bars are red, and there's that little one-day bounce here that meets all the requirements of the course. All right. Now what you can do is double click on strategy number 10, and in the drop-down menu, normally where you would click on signal arrows or such, you just click on extension exits, and you will see either 3 to 4 levels here, all right? Now, if you're the type of trader that likes to get in and out quickly, you'll use level 1 or 2. If you'd like to stay in a little bit longer, you use level 3, or if there's a 4th level, you'll use that. Let's say you decided to use level 3 here, okay, to exit. So you place a limit. Once you got short, you place a limit here at 140.49, and as you saw here, in roughly about a week, you would have quickly gained 13 points just in about 5 days. Not a bad little trade, right? But look what happens. Many times after it hits these certain levels, the trend changes. So this is why this is one of our most popular features on our platform. Now, that trade we looked at earlier in MasterCard, here was the buy signal, all right, generated. Before you even entered, you could have found out where these exit levels are. You click on strategy number 10, and in the drop-down menu, you'll click on extension exits. And here we have 3 more, right? If you wanted to get in and out of this trade quickly, you'd have your limit right here. Some of our traders like to scale out. So let's say they had 300 shares, they'd sell 100 here, 100 here, maybe 100 here, or so on. Either way, we always say that at the 3rd or 4th level to exit the trade entirely. So let's say you wanted to exit here at the 3rd level. Well, in 8 days, you could have potentially captured 28 points. Not a bad little trade. And then look what happened right after that, okay? Once again, you see how powerful our platform is. It not only would generate these setups for you, but also auto-generates these exit levels as well. And this is just only one of the different exit techniques we teach. We also have on the platform auto-generated entry points as well. So it's a great, great offer. You're going to get a full year of the platform included with this strategy number 10 discount. So let's go through the process here. Now, normally, strategy number 10 special rate with the PET-D would cost $49.95. That's how powerful this tool and this method is. But we're going to discount that. We're not going to charge you $49.95. We're going to discount it down to $44.95. You're going to save $500. Okay. Here's the best thing about that. We still know that a lot of students aren't able to come up with $44.95. So for a small discount, a small deposit of that $44.95, you can still be up and running with a payment plan. So you don't have to actually put down $44.95. You can just put down a small deposit and you can still be up and running in the course. Now, let's say, as many of our students do, they already have the PET-D. They say, Steve, I already have this great tool. I don't have the strategy, but I have the PET-D. Well, we're not going to charge you for everything. So new strategy, if you already own the PET-D, is normally $34.95. We're going to discount that as well. So if you already have the PET-D, you'll only have to pay $29.95. And guess what? You can still establish a payment plan with that as well. So either way, we're making it easy for you. You don't have to come up with these full lump sums. You can come up with a small deposit and still be up and running as early as today. And remember, this also includes a full year of the platform absolutely free. So if you included that price, we're talking about an extra $1,000 or $2 included onto the price that we've just totally waived altogether. Here's how to take advantage of this great offer. Remember, 2022 is halfway over. Are you seeing the type of results you promised yourself at the beginning of the year? Most likely not, right? Take your trading to the next level with strategy number 10. Here's how to do it. contact ProTrader Strategies. They're my sister site. They developed the platform with me, and they're in charge of all the course discounts and pricing. You can email them. I would highly suggest giving them a call. There's absolutely no obligation. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They can take your order over the phone or give you a quote as to a payment plan. Call them directly at 310-598-6677. Now, that link you see at the very bottom of the page is the link that will take you to the info page as well as the sign-up page if you'd like to sign up online. Now, that's not a live link, but a live link has just been posted onto the chat box. So if you'd like to go to the chat box and click that on, that will take you directly to the info page. All right. I promised you I would reserve the last portion for any questions you may have. So if you have questions, please feel free to go to the chat box, write them in right now, and I'll answer them all entirely. Someone's asking, can this work on other markets like futures or currency pairs? Yes, it can. I'm sorry, most of the examples I gave were specifically for stocks because of the markets these days. But yes, you can apply it there. You can also apply it to commodities as well. Okay. Someone's asking, can you use this for intraday trading? Yes. So if you like to trade stocks intraday, let's say you trade Apple intraday, you can still get some really nice signals and some nice setups. We pride ourselves on knowing that most of our methods, I'd say 99% of them, can be applied to any market and any time frame. And strategy number 10 falls into that category as well. So I apologize if you didn't see a currency pair example or a Bitcoin example. We get setups, and we have traders trading strategy number 10 that trade Bitcoin as well and cryptos. So there's lots of different markets, lots of different time frames you can experiment with. Ultimately, you'll learn everything in the course, okay? Once we get the videos, is there a certain time where they expire? No. Once you purchase the course, you become a student of mine, you have all the information for life. It's yours. So the main thing is we don't want you to think that, okay, this is a course that you'll have the info given to you for 30 days and you have to learn it. No, this is yours for life. You'll have all the rules and all the requirements for strategy number 10. Just because the platform is the deal is only for 1 year, that doesn't mean you can't re-up it and continue. I'm sure there's some great discounts that ProTrader Strategies can give you, but you can decide that after a year. Most of our students do re-up again after that because they're so satisfied with the platform. So just because the platform has a 1 year usage, it doesn't mean that strategy number 10 does. Your strategy 10 is yours for life. Once you become a student of mine, those rules and everything that you learn in the course is yours to keep for life. Okay. Good questions. Good questions. Any more here? Can you contact us with questions? Oh, well, what we can do, because I can't sit next to everyone in our courses, we have thousands of students around the world. What I can do is give you my personal email. So every student of mine has my personal email address where you can contact me whenever you'd like, okay? Sometimes I'll answer that day. Other times it'll take maybe a day or so to get back to you. Other times I'll send you a short video if you give me information, and I'll make a short, quick video for you to analyze and for you to study and research. But yes, I will always get back to my students, and you have my personal email, which comes directly to me. It's not going to an intern or going to a salesperson. It comes directly to me, and I will answer them personally, okay? Okay, good questions. Remember, if you're serious about taking your trading to the next level, just give ProTrader Strategies a call. There's no obligation. They would be happy to give you a quote for a payment plan. They'd be happy to answer any question about the platform or anything else about pricing. And call them directly at 310-598-6677. They're very flexible. All of the consultants there will be happy to work with you, and they'll give you a quote with no obligation at all, okay? All right, if there are no further questions, this brings us to the end, and we take one last look at our disclaimer. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your Wednesday. I know you are very busy with the markets and trying to make ends meet while you're trading, but I really feel that once you become a student of mine in the strategy number 10 course, you will be able to really be happy about your trading and take charge of your trading destiny for the very first time. So I just want to say thank you so much, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine at Specialist Trading. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.